SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of iGaming Daily. Today's episode is sponsored by Optimove, the creator of positionless marketing and the #1 player engagement platform. And if you're heading to SBC Summit in Lisbon, please mention iGaming Daily when you visit Optimove at stand A555 and get your first month free. I am Ana Maria Menezes, business journalist for SBC Notícias Brazil, and in today's episode, we're discussing Brazil, of course, the land of football, music, amazing food, and one of the hottest, if I can put it this way, iGaming markets today. We're covering today the open decisions in the hands of the Supreme Court, such as the issue between municipal versus state lotteries. And we're also going to talk about land-based casinos, to me, the most expected theme for the second semester of 2025. And today, we invited a very special guest to discuss these topics with us. Please welcome Caio Loureiro. He's partner at Tosini Freire Advogados and also member of the nonprofit organization International Masters of Gaming Law, or IMGL, if you prefer it this way. And the organization has a focus on gathering leading experts in their own jurisdictions from all over the world and to provide efficient guidance to decision makers in the iGaming industry. Caio, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, Anna. Nice to have this time with you. It's a pleasure to be here with SBC to share some views about the busiest, I don't know if the hottest, but for sure the busiest iGaming market today in the world. I want to thank SBC. I want to thank IMGL for the invite to be here with you.
It's a pleasure having you here, and I'm excited to talk about the topics that we have on for today. And we're going to start actually with a state versus municipal issue. So we know that the Supreme Court has been deciding for quite some time now, and we have had some developments in the past couple of months. But the latest issue is that the Brazilian Supreme Court has recently reviewed restrictions on state lotteries, including sports betting and online gaming, as it was established. And we're going to speak just a little bit of lawyer here. It was established by Section 35A of the sports betting law issued in 2018 during the government of Temer, the ex-president, former president, Michel Temer. And Caio, could you please explain what are those restrictions and what do you expect of the court's decision on it?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to be less lawyer as possible because there are a lot of legal aspects here involved with 35A. But just in a nutshell, a few years ago, the Supreme Court here in Brazil has ruled that the federal government has no monopoly to offer lottery services here. And it's good to say that here in Brazil, both sports betting and iGaming are considered as lottery modalities here. So when we talk about lottery, we are also talking about sports betting and iGaming, online casino, as you prefer. So as I was saying a few years ago, the Supreme Court has ruled that states can also offer lottery services here because there is no monopoly for the federal government to do so. A few years later, when approving the Bets Act here, Law 14790, there is a section there that's called 35A that governs the state's lottery here. It's the federal law that governs the section of the federal law that governs state's lottery here. And it has two main restrictions, actually. The first one say that one company cannot hold more than one concession here in Brazil, meaning that if you already have a concession here for any state here, you cannot have another one. And the second restriction is that if you are a state authorized operator, lottery operator, you cannot advertise in another state territory. So given that these two restrictions impose a lot of issues for states to run their lottery operations here. 7 states in Brazil has challenged the constitutionality of these two rules into the Supreme Court. Up to now, we have already 5 justices that rule in favor of the states. Actually, this week we expect to conclude the judgment. Let's hope. But up to now, we have 5 justices that say, okay, this true restriction is indeed unconstitutionality. So the states authorized operator can have more than one concession, and they can advertise outside the state territory. So this is an important issue here in Brazil when it comes to the discussions about federal lottery and states lottery, because we know that by restricting one concession per operator, you prohibit a company to have more than one concession, so you don't have scale economics. The company cannot be bigger here in Brazil. And in the end, you have a competition distortion here because we know that Caixa runs countrywide lottery here in Brazil. So if you maintain this restriction, so no other company can face Caixa, so no other company can be a real competition to Caixa, since they will only have one operation in one state, so they cannot have another operation in another state here. So the expectation here is that the Supreme Court confirms that the 2 articles are indeed unconstitutionally. So state authorized operation can not only have more than one concession, but they can also advertise in another state territory.
And what do you think the court's decision is going to be officially? So, I mean, we already know that it's 5. We have already, technically, we're already there. But do you feel like there's going to be maybe someone against it, or do you believe all of them will be in favor?
Yeah, it's hard to say because we still have 6 justices to vote. As I said, the judgment must return this week. So the expectation is that the Supreme Court conclude the judgment this week. But given the pending justice still to vote, I believe that the Supreme Court will indeed rule in favor of the states by saying that the 2 restrictions are against the Constitution here in Brazil, especially because the argument against these 2 rules are really strong here, because when the Supreme Court decides in favor of the state before, when ruling that there is no federal monopoly to run lottery here in Brazil, justice already stated that the federal government cannot impose restrictions to the state, besides the fact that the state can only authorize operators within its own territory. So this is the only restriction that the Supreme Court has imposed to the state before. So I don't believe that now they will agree with these 2 more restrictions as proposed by the BETS Act here in Brazil. So I'm expecting that the last justice will confirm this understanding, and then we'll have a decision in favor of the states again.
Okay, fair. Just like not business journalists anymore, sorry, but one of our hosts, Fernando, likes to say, let's #wait and see for the final decision. And you can, of course, check all the final details on SBC Notícias Brazil, and also subscribe to our newsletter, and you will receive firsthand all the updates for the iGaming industry. And moving forward, we talked about the state part of the operations, but another important case under the review of the Supreme Court concerns whether local municipal governments should also be allowed to operate lottery services. And what is at stake in this case, in your opinion, Caio? And what could the impact be on the market?
Yeah, you know that here in Brazil, nothing's complicated enough. So when we thought that we will finally surpass the discussion between federal and state governments, then now we are facing the local municipal issue here in Brazil. The thing here is that, remember when I said that A few years ago, the Supreme Court in favor of the state, so there is no federal monopoly to run lotteries here in Brazil. The thing here is that two justices, when casting their votes, they slightly mention that, when talk about federal authorities here in Brazil, federative pact here, one thing is the federal government has the authority to legislate about something. But this doesn't mean that the states, and then they mention the municipalities, cannot operate this service or something like that. So some municipalities here in Brazil took these two mentions in the justice votes and say, look, the Supreme Court not only rule in favor of the states, they also say the municipalities can run lotteries as well. So now here in Brazil, we have a lot of municipalities that launch their lottery service here, either traditional lottery or sports betting or iGaming or VLT, video lottery terminals here. And then there are a lot of discussion, first, if this is legal. Since there is no provision in the federal law that's saying that municipalities can also run lottery service in Brazil, it's legal to support the municipalities' lotteries only on the basis of these two mentions by the Supreme Court. So the discussion here, once again, reached the Supreme Court. There is a political party here in Brazil called Solidariedade that has filed a claim into the Supreme Court and say, look, there are a lot of municipalities here that already have local laws or local operations here, and I believe that this is not legal, so I ask the Supreme Court to either confirm or not that it's legal to municipalities running and legislating about lotteries here in Brazil. And we have expectations that the Supreme Court would at least rule the injunction, say, so this is an injunction, so no municipality can run lotteries until the Supreme Court decides on the merits of the case. But the thing here is that the reputed Justice Caio Nunes, has decided to not analyze the injunction right now. They prefer to hear all the municipalities involved. There are a lot of municipalities involved. I believe there is like 15 cities in Brazil that is part of this action. And a lot of associations and other cities here has asked to join the case as amicus curiae. So they can provide additional information to help the court decide on this matter. So up to now, we have this discussion here in Brazil. We don't have a federal law saying, it's legal to municipalities to run lotteries. We have this decision for the Supreme Court that is, in fact, decides only on the state's issue. But since they mention about the municipalities, so some cities in Brazil has decided to enact local laws and start running the local lottery services in Brazil. So there's a lot of discussion to go on, a lot of water under the bridge to know whether will be legal to have a municipality lottery here or not.
Okay, fair. And just right before we go to the ad break, I'd just like to give to our listeners a bit of context. A couple of, 2 months ago, the Secretariat of Prizes and Betting, Regis Udena, said in an interview for SBC Notícias Brazil that in his views, and not only his, but also with other state lotteries, that municipal lotteries are not legally operating right now. So this is the official point of view from the regulator. And it's important to give you guys this perspective so we have the two sides here. And while you let that sink in with all this information, we're going to go to a quick ad break and we'll be right back.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
We're back from the very quick break, and we're going to talk a little bit now about land-based casinos. As I mentioned, one of the most expected topics to be discussed this semester in Brazil. And since we were talking about what is legal and what is illegal, for our listeners, just to give you again a context, you probably already know that Brazil is an exception in terms of regulation. So instead of coming from the land-based to the iGaming market, which is a transition that is normally expected, we decided to go all the other way around. We went from online betting to land-based. We're still heading to land-based, actually. And a few weeks ago, the Minister of Finance, Fernando Haddad, said that he was in favor of legalizing land-based casinos and that it wasn't a mass game such as the online games, but it was an investment, especially towards tourism. And he also said that legalizing land-based casinos would create jobs, besides also being a positive environment to attract visitors from other countries. However, and this is where the information starts sort of mixing up in a way. He also has been pretty vocal about wanting to shut down the iGaming industry, and considering that it doesn't create jobs in his point of view, and basically leaning into the thought that it's something evil. And those are two very different stances on betting, to say the least. Caio, do you believe that those regulators actually have a tendency to be more accepting towards land-based casinos than online gaming? And why is that? Because those are very two different opinions on the same matter.
Yeah, that's I would say it's funny, but actually it's not funny because, that brings a lot of problems with this kind of statements from Minister Haddad. We know that online gaming, sports betting here in Brazil are facing a lot of challenges, not only from the political sphere, but also from the media and parts of the society. There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of contests here against online gaming and sports betting here for a lot of factors, especially because people say that sports betting and online gaming are breaking down the economics. They're creating a lot of debits for the population here in Brazil. We know this is not true. We know that it's something to be concerned. The ludopathy, it's a real issue and should be treated as without due concern. And I believe that SPA, Ms. Studena, is doing amazing work when it comes to responsible gaming here. But in any case, we know that some part of the political sphere, Mr. Haddad include, has challenged online gaming, sports betting, because they think there's evil, as you said, Anna, and they are causing a lot of debits for the population here. I don't agree with this statement. We all know that there are ways to control debits, and we know the real problem is not the regulated market, but instead the illegal market, because you don't have any controls on the illegal market here. And if the government starts to enforce against the illegal market, we'll have a lot of improvements here when it comes to ludopathy here in Brazil. But anyway, back into your question, I believe that the thing with land-based casino here is that people believe that not only the job issue, okay, when you have a casino, you create a lot of jobs, you attract tourists here to Brazil, and because the bill that is being reviewed by the Congress states that to have a casino, you have to have an entertainment complex alongside, so a hotel, restaurant, and so forth. So people say, okay, if you have a casino here in Brazil, you create jobs, not only with the casino itself, but with the whole entertainment complex that must be attached to the casino, is related to the casino here. And there are another aspect here that people say, okay, when it comes to land casino, it's easier to control the betting for the people. So if you are a restricted bettor, so you cannot access the casino, it's easier to the casino to bear people that have vicious, gambling vicious here. So I believe that these two issues, the job issue and the fight against gambling vicious, are the ones that justify this distinction about the Mr. Haddad statements when it comes to online gaming and sports betting, and when it comes to land casinos here in Brazil.
Okay, fair. And we've had a lot of discussions, and on SBC Notícias Brasil, you can also check interviews with especially Irajá Abreu. He's the rapporteur of the bill. We talk a lot about land-based on SBC Notícias Brasil, so please make sure to check that out. And just going to a bit of the speculation again, do you believe that the land-based bill will be officially approved this year? Or do you think that maybe considering that there's always the ideal scenario for a bill to pass, and this is one of the reasons why it has been so postponed so many times. So do you believe that it would be approved this year?
This is 1 million question, Ana. If I have to place a bet, I would think twice if I believe that the bill will pass this year, because as you know, last year everyone was expecting the bill to be approved.
Yes.
Okay, so by the end of the year, we'll have the land casino approved by the Congress. But there are a lot of things going on in the political side here in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And I believe that this year is even worse when it comes to the political aspect, the political conjuncture here in Brazil, because you have a lot of discussion between the federal government and the Congress. And when you know that the federal government has interest in this bill, the federal government is in favor of this bill, so this attracts the opposite parties to fight against this bill. And we have a lot of issues related to religious here. We know there are a lot of congressmen, congresswomen that comes from evangelical churches here that are completely against any kind of gambling here. And we know that this group in the Senate is very vocal. So a few weeks ago, Mr. Alcolumbre, the Senate speaker, he, as we know, he's in favor of the project, this bill. So he tried to vote this bill by analyzing the speeches from other senators. He decided, okay, maybe it's not a good idea to vote this bill today because there are a lot of opposition to it. So chances are that the bill will be rejected by the Senate, and there will be a disaster because the Senate reject the bill right now. We have to go back to the beginning, and we must remember that we are talking about the bill that is from 1991. So a lot of time to have this bill approved. But who knows? Maybe if the political side improves by the end of the year, we know there are a lot of discussion right now because of Bolsonaro's trial. There are a lot of discussion about amnesty in the Congress, so probably the opposition parties will focus on the discussion about amnesty here and will not try to vote anything else. But again, we have some strong congressmen in favor of this bill, Mr. Alcolumbre including. So probably if he thinks he decides that, okay, this is the good moment to vote this bill, he will do it. So it's only a matter of the right window, you know. Okay, this is a tiny window, a favorable window here, but let's try it. If you have this window by the end of the year, okay, I think that we'll have this bill finally approved by the Congress here. The only thing here is that this window is really, really, really far right now. So probably we'll have to wait until next year to have the land-based. I'm enthusiastic of land-based, of course. So I'm hoping that the Congress finds this window and still this year, and we'll have the land-based casino voted by the end of the year.
So this tells us that is #wait and see. Fernando is always right about that. Yes, he is. And And we're going to be here to cover all of that. So thank you, Caio, very much for the time that you set aside today to talk to us. It was very important to listen to a lawyer who's very involved with the whole market to give the listeners a bit more of a deeper insight of what's going on. Thank you to the listeners of iGaming Daily, and we're going to see each other in the next episode.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, SBC. Thank you, IMGL. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.